Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good welcome. Yes, it is that time of the week again. It's 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. My name's Dave Parkinson, as always, joined by Mr. Steve Beech. How are you doing, Steve? You okay, mate?
Yeah, doing fine. Time to park it. Just a little bit. I don't know.
Don't start mentioning the weather.
No.
We know,
mention the weather.
You know what happens when we mention the weather? We get tweets.
We do.
And we get messages on phones and everything.
No, it's that. I suppose it's the Challenge Cup weekend. Blues, as it were. I mean, there's not. I
didn't think they were very good games either. I'm sorry.
And you know, I'm not actually on about the game. Would I agree with?
Okay.
No,
okay.
It's because obviously there's a lack of games. Which could, and rightly so. If people want to watch the final, go to the final, etc.
Yeah,
and that's correct. But the knock on from that, from our point of view, is there's very little about it, except when you're on edge every week, sort of waiting for them results coming, and then you're looking at, different positions, etc. And something that's not there. It's so it's been a little bit. I don't know, blues, I suppose. But there's still things going on.
Very much a truncated weekend, wasn't it, for us? With just a couple of fixtures and a couple of results to tell you about. So we'll bring you all the results that we have anyway, and I'm sure Steve can magic up a few more, because some of them won't have been printed in the newspaper, as I invariably find, due to deadlines and the modern technology that doesn't always work. But it's great to have you along for the ride again. So what have we got coming up? Well, one of the games that did take place was in the Premier Division of the North West Men's League. It was between Orrell St James and Ashton Bears. So I'll tell you a little bit about that game, and also the fact that I've spoken to both coaches after the game. So Sean McHugh and Dave Picton, both very, very, very good, in sort of giving us information and on what it's all about. And, I always appreciate it when people spend that amount of time and answer my sort of daft questions from time to time.
Got to say, though, that game, as it stands, not just that particular one, but I mean, every year, that is one of those sort of standout fixes where you're going to go, that's the Saints Wigan, that's a Lee Wigan game, type of thing, where, it doesn't matter who, he's sort of the top dog at the moment. You're going to get a competition, you're going to get a game out of that.
Definitely. There's also been a couple of National Conference League results to bring you as well, and we'll dip our toes into the regional leagues and the Yorkshire Men's League as well. But I want to start us off with Cumbria, Steve, if that's okay. So it was a big weekend as far as the Elam Amateur Cup was concerned. It's reached the semi-final stage, and you've got the first match report, haven't you, Steve? So this was a game between Hensingham and Kells.
Hensingham and Kells. Just give me 2 seconds there, mate, and I'll just get that one up for you. Right, the Hens beat Kells 34 points to 22 in the semi-final, courtesy of Dave Cartmore's brace. A try and 5 goals for Dylan Bragg, and a touchdown to Luca Hiddleston, Liam Quayle and Dylan Cromwell. Callum Kinraid crossed twice for the Miners. Jacob Johnson, Dan Gears dotted down, and Ross Gainford improved 3 scores. It looked like it was a good game, though. Reports as such, I can't find one that's a bit sort of more in depth.
Okay, I do understand that there was quite a serious injury in that game as well for young Gainford, like you mentioned. So our thoughts go out to him and wish him a speedy recovery. So it was Hensingham who got in there first of all, isn't it? And they will meet Withdraw Hornets. This was after they dispatched Espatria Hornets. It was a real battle of the stinging beasts, you could say, at the weekend in the Elam Amateur Cup, as Withdraw Hornets won by 34 points to 14. They led by 22 points to 6 at at half-time. All the play opened up after 2 minutes when Luke Spivey went over for the first try. Matt Sibbald converted the first of 5 goals that the winger kicked over the course of the game. He also had a wow of a game, to be honest, because he scored a hat-trick, did Matt Sibbald. He popped up with the next 2 tries. The first of his hat-trick coming after 6 minutes, the second one coming after 29 minutes, and then 3 minutes after that, he was over again. It was like grease lightning in that first half. It was Sibbald making all the headlines. So that was how they amassed their 22 points. Aspatria did get themselves on the scoreboard after 35 minutes when Ben Tootle scored a converted try of his own, the standoff going in. So 22-6 at half-time. Just 2 minutes into the second half, Brad White resumed the scoring. As far as the hosts were concerned, Sibbald converted. Mark Irwin in between dotted down for Aspatria, and then 66 minutes in, Luke Davison scored the try really that clinched it. Matt Sibbald ended up with his 5th goal, and although there was a late consolation 7 minutes from the end for Jordan Moore, it was not to be as far as Aspatria Hornets were concerned. The home man of the match was Greg Rooney, who has been in good form for Westborough Hornets. He played 6 in this game, and Jordan Moore got the nod for the visitors, so he was their the right winger who scored one of their tries. There was one sin bin, by the way, for Aspatria. Cameron Moore getting temporarily dismissed for a professional foul, but ultimately that didn't really have too much bearing on the result, and it was a good win. That great win for Westborough Hornets. So it means that Hensingham and Westborough Hornets, they'll contest the final of the Elam Amateur Cup, which is coming up a little bit later on in the year. Other results, Lauca recovered from 26 points to 16 down at the break to draw 38 all with Dissington A in the Holman Ixon Cumberland League. I think I've been saying it wrong all season, haven't I, Steve?
You've been putting an L in there, Parky.
I've been adding...
what the hell have you been doing? I don't know.
It's a silent L. It's a silent L, but I've been mentioning it. So it's the Holman Igesund. Is that what we're agreeing on?
Yeah, we'll stick with that. Yeah, we got rid of the L.
Please tell me that we're saying your competition correctly, Cumbrians. Please tell us. Now, Zenda Callender led the way with a hat-trick. James McNally helped himself to a couple of touchdowns, and Ashton Briscoe and Mitchell Todd popped in as well. Keith Campbell added 5 goals. Now, for the visitors, Dissington, Regan Farrell scored 2, Jack Penrice, Aaron O'Donnell and Kelvin Lynch and Kieran Worthington all went over. Jack Worthington added a try as well, and Callum Fox, he kicked 5 conversions, but that was a really high scoring 38 points each draw. Absolutely fantastic. This coming weekend, your fixtures are on Friday night. Hensingham A up against Maryport. That should be one for the ages, that one. Both of those clubs have been going particularly well at the top end of the division, as we heard Paul Farrell describe last week. Dissington A at home to Flimby, Kells A at home to Lauca, and then on Saturday, Ellenborough Rangers host Askham, Cockermouth Titans host Westborough Hornets. So lots to play for in the Cumbrian League. Yeah,
just going back to the report I did at the beginning, Park, I was on about, was it Ross Gainford?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we were getting mixed up. I think it was Grant Gainford who got injured over the weekend.
So Grant Gainford has been injured.
And apparently he went out to obviously to hospital, and what they said, he spent the weekend in hospital. Apparently got a small bleed on his brain, but they were expecting him home. So fingers crossed he's okay.
Yeah. Well, our thoughts with the Gainford family anyway. Let's hope that he's back out on the field, because to be honest, the pair of them are fantastic players for Kells. And they'll certainly miss their influence. But when it comes to talking about players' health, then that is paramount, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly brain injuries as well. Sort of that's. Having chatted to Johnny Lomax quite a few years ago when it was on one of his when he was his obviously celebrating that he'd done X amount of years for Saints, and I was having a chat with him, and it's when you look how things can go, you can understand the way they're looking at head knocks and different things like that, and certainly in the community game, it's very, very... It's important in the professional game, but I think in the community game it's even more important because they don't have the facilities and the backup that you do from a professional point of view. So fingers crossed everything's going to go all right for him.
Right, elsewhere in the Yorkshire Men's League, we've got a few results to bring you. So all the action started last Thursday evening. Division 1, Charleston Rovers 30, Cutsick Raiders 22. That's something like a thriller, isn't it? Then in the Hull division that same evening, East Hull 22, Myton Warriors 6. And then on Saturday, action from Division 2 saw Queensbury 22, Seacroft Sharks 30. In Division 3, Wyke 26, Birstall Victoria 20. From Division 5, Scarborough Pirates running roughshod against the Derby Elks, winning by 68 points to 14. And unfortunately, there was no game between Scunthorpe, Steel Sharks and Skirler. Your fixtures this coming weekend from the Yorkshire Men's League. In the National Conference League Alliance on Friday evening, Stanley host Shawcross Sharks. Then on Saturday from the Premier Division, King Cross Park head over to Almondridge Bartons. Westcott Common go over to Doncaster Tollbar. You've got Fryston Warriors up against Keighley Albion. Newson Panthers hosting Stanley Rangers. Division 1, Hunslet ARLFC are at home to Bradford Dudley Hill. Murfield host Charleston Rovers. Siddle Academy are also at home against Ossett Trinity Tigers. Meanwhile, Cutsick Raiders, they travel over to Wibsey Warriors. In Division 2, Emley Moor Cougars head over to Brighouse Rangers. Birkinshaw Blue Dogs, they're on the road at Cass Panthers. Illingworth travel over to Queensbury, and Seacroft Sharks host Mould Green. And in Division 3, Bramley Buffaloes are up against Upton. Dodworth Miners host Birstall Victoria. Wyke go over to play against Elland and Greetland. And York Acorn have the matter of a local derby away at New Yearswick All Blacks, so that should be a cracking game in Division 3. Division 4, that sees Dewsbury Moor host Newson Panthers A. Goole Vikings travel over to Ulton Raiders. West Craven Warriors host Underbank Rangers, and Sherburn Bears go over to face the York Barbarians. And in Division 5, Criggleston All Blacks host Batley. Dearne Valley Bulldogs, they're at home to the Scarborough Pirates. Derby Elks are away at Farnley Falcons, and Linley St Joseph's host the Garforth Tigers. Division 6, Birkinshaw Blue Dogs Academy, they're at home to the Moortown Mambas. You've got Hemsworth Dragons away at Keighley Albion Academy. Guiseley Rangers, they're on the road at King Cross Park Academy. And Rycroft Hammers are also away at Charleston Rovers. In the NCL Alliance Division on Saturday, you've got Bentley hosting Normanton Knights, Eastmoor Dragons over at Milford, and West Bowling Academy taking on Heworth. And in the Hull Division, Cottingham Tigers are set to host East Hull. Myton Warriors, they're at home against Scunthorpe Steel Sharks. Meanwhile, Skirler have the task of West Hull at home, so that's going to be interesting for them. Moving over the Pennines to the North West Men's League, just the one game involved in this one, and what a cracker it was. This happened on Thursday night. It was in the Premier Division, Orrell St James against Ashton Bears. Usually two of the big dogs, I think you could be safe to say, in definitely. The league, and two teams that have been keenly contested rivals over the last few years. It's one of the standout fixtures that you look for. Orrell St James just getting the better of Ashton Bears. It was a much changed Ashton Bears lineup, to be fair. Several younger players coming into the ranks there, as it was really for Orrell St James. They had a few changes as well. A lad who came in on dual registration from Wigan as well, who played an absolute stormer of a game off the bench. You'll hear what Sean McHugh made of his performance in just a minute or two. Orrell St James, basically, they took the chances, so they led by 16 points to 0 at half time. Yeah. Arguably it was closer than 16-0 at half time. It was just one of them where they had 3 golden chances and they iced all 3 of them. 2 of them from a veteran centre, who again you'll hear from the interview that I conducted with Sean McHugh afterwards. And I really enjoyed this game. There was plenty of banter from both touchlines, as you come to expect. A lot of local feeling. And it stayed dry. You can't ask for much more than that. And in my opinion, it proved better than the game at Wembley.
That's not hard, really, though, is it, to be fair?
Because at least both sides showed up. You didn't just have Wigan running away with it like they did, for a good 50 minutes against Warrington on the weekend. Right, you've heard my views on it. What about the views of the 2 coaches? I spoke to Sean McHugh and Dave Picton afterwards. Let's start with a winning reaction. So here's Sean McHugh.
Well, I'm joined by Sean McHugh. It was a lively game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Again, 2 teams who've had history, like who've been up there, and always a local derby. And Thursday before Wembley, the scene was set. And I thought it was a really good team, a really good game. Sorry, I thought both teams went really well. We just got there in the end.
Yeah, I thought that it was that first half really, because you had like 3 iced chances and you got them over the line.
Yeah, we did. Like I said, we're a bit disrupted today, as I'm sure Ashton are, but quite a few lads missing, and we've played loads of people out of position, 2 new nines. So we're really pleased with what we've done, because there didn't seem any cohesion with us. But like you said, the 3 good chances we got, we took them. And I thought, more for me, we defended well and showed a lot of resilience with how many lads we had missing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that second half, Ashton came out to play, didn't they?
Yeah, and Ashton are a good team, and I know when you speak to Wayne, they have a few missing, and they've put some under-18s in like we did. So yeah, they're a good team, and they're a good club, and you can guarantee whoever they bring in can play rugby. So yeah, it wasn't their teams of last year, but again, we knew they're a good rugby team, so we knew they were going to do all right.
Got to say as well, Terry Bridge took his chances really well, didn't he, for these 2 tries?
Yeah, he did. I mean, Terry's come down this year because his lad plays down here for the last 5 or 7 years, and Terry just wanted another crack at it. And he's been really good for us, because he's steady, and he's a good ex-pro who just does what he does, and he's embraced everything to do with the club. He's a local lad, so we're just really glad to have him down here.
It must be nice when you get people like that, and you want them sort of people involved, don't you?
Yeah, and I think the people who are involved and the way that the club is at the moment, I think that brings that, because the culture we have at the club, you see, people like Terry watching his son play and watching his other sons play, and then just thinks, well, maybe it's a chance for me, put my boots on back again and let my kids see that I could do something. It might spur them on to do what Terry has done, because I think he's 3 lads down here at the moment playing, and the older ones at Wigan in the academy. So yeah, it's great to have him down, and it was great to see young Mike Porter, who's again on dual reg at Wigan in the academy. He's only 17, came on in the middle and just bashed it up with all big lads, and it was nice to see Michael playing against men, which will hopefully stand him in good stead when he goes back to Wigan.
Looked like he enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, Michael is that type of kid, you know what I mean? He's up and down and up and down and up. He'll go all day, and he just enjoys his rugby. His stuff to work on, and that's why hopefully we're going to have sent him down here, because they think we can help him with his development, and then hopefully when he goes back he can get a game there and kick on from that.
I know certainly at North West Men's that dual reg has been in for a couple of years now, hasn't it? But how have you been able to use it? Is he mainly one of the first lads that you've got?
Yeah, he is. This year, I think some of the younger age academy lads weren't getting a game, so they were offered back to us. And obviously the lads who've come from here, they're not lads from other clubs, so they played all through the juniors here, and we just feel that it was nice to give them an opportunity. I mean, generally I wouldn't want dual reg lads, because it stops our lads from playing, but in theory they are our lads, so if we can help them on the pathway, they won't take positions from people who are here regular, but tonight's been an opportunity, and with so many missing, we've been able to give Michael a game, and he's done really well for us, and any opportunities we can get him in first team, second team or under 18s, we will do, to aid his development, because he's a development kid from our club.
As you said, it's all about development, and ultimately he's going to give it back to Orrell later on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, maybe not. He might be playing at Wembley in 5 years' time. But hopefully, if it doesn't work out for him where it does, he'll come back, and maybe another Terry Bridge story where, in years to come, Michael and Tom Bridge have gone on and had their professional careers, and they come back and give us something back for the way we've helped them and nurture them in the pro career.
As I say, I think that's important. These are the stories which don't always get told at community clubs, really.
No, it's important for us as a club that we help our own, and I think that's what we're doing at the moment with Michael and Tom. We're trying every week to get them a game somewhere, so as when they do get back to Wigan, but obviously not at the detriment of our players, because ultimately the Wigan players, and at the moment we've got 50 lads training on a Thursday night. Like I said, not many available tonight, but normally on a Thursday we've 50 lads available, and that way we can't get lads from Wigan a game, but ultimately we try and get them a game somewhere, whether it's the open age, first team, second team, or under 18s, sometime over the weekend to help them.
Who've got next up?
We've certainly got Rochdale Mayfield coming up in the semi-final of the BARLA Cup. Yeah, and that's another challenge, Rochdale Mayfield. I don't know what team they're going to send over. We've no real fears of what they send. We can compete with NCL teams. I mean, they'd start massive favourites, but again, other teams have come here as massive favourites, and we've competed with them. So again, we'll embrace what they bring, and we'll see what happens. But we're in a no-lose situation, because if they send the NCL team, they'll be red-hot favourites. If we win, it's a great day. If we lose, everybody expected it. So it's something that's it's easy for us, that semi-final. We just go out there, put our team out, and we're expected to lose. So if we get a win, it's a bonus. And
I know we're a little bit further on down the track, but this is a venue that's going to be hosting the North West Men's Trophy Cup and Plate Finals.
Yeah, the irony. We applied for that at the beginning of the season because we think we've got the facilities as good, if not better, than most in around here.
I'd agree.
And we got the nod, and we got the final. Luckily, we've actually got to the final, so it should give us, I wouldn't say an advantage, because last time we played Finch down here, they gave it to us good and proper, so it weren't an advantage that day. But we'll look forward to it, and we'll host it as well as we can, and I'm sure everybody who comes down here for whichever final will have a great day, because the facilities down here are second to none. Hopefully, if we can get a good game together, we might be able to pull it off and give our Speckies something to cheer as well.
I'm thinking it's an acknowledgement for the work that's gone on here. I know it's now 2 or 3 years old now, isn't it? This clubhouse that we're standing by, but it's a testament to just what work you do week in, week out, as a club, as a committee, as all the way through, really.
Yeah, and I think we're fledgling as a club. I don't think we've only been around since 1984, and we've been nomads till sort of 12 years ago, and now we're building. We're not there yet, and I mean times are hard, and we're just trying to work out where we get a little bit of money and do a little bit extra each time, and we're trying to develop the grounds, and we're trying to develop the pitches, and we need new changing rooms again, because the old ones are now a bit tatty. So we've got the new ones, we're going to build new ones where the old ones were. So there's loads of development going on, but obviously the money's not always there for that, so we're trying to spend that wisely, save up a bit. We've got a budget in place where we'll save up year on year till we can afford it, and we'll hopefully afford it as a club, rather than be very careful we don't go in any debt, and we're always careful. We tend not to use we don't want to use the bar as our sort of funding, if you like. The bar's there as a little bit of a bonus. We can't run a club on bar takings, and we've said that from day one. If anything that we make from the bar is a bonus, it's not how we're going to try and run our club. So we don't hire it out to other people. We don't have private functions here from people outside our club. We keep it to ourselves, and hopefully we can keep going that way and get what we need to get.
Once again, Sean, thank you ever so much for telling us about what you've got going on down here. Go and enjoy that win.
Right, cheers, Dave. Thanks very much.
Rugby League's secret weapon, Green Cooling, scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Great to chat to Sean again. I mean, he's fantastic. He's excellent value, and you just get a real feeling, don't you, of what's going on down there at Orrell St James. Really open, and they're always a club that are looking to develop. I mean, there was about 3 or 4 things that I want to come back to that he mentioned. But just looking back at the team sheet, I know something that you would have liked. I know you're usually on number 20 watch, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for somebody who's wearing
20 club, yeah.
The 20 club. Well, we did have a 20 club. Jamie Allen wore that jersey for Orrell St James at the weekend. He had a really good influence coming off the bench. They also had a number 19 who played hooker. Apparently it was his first game, Ben Cottrell, and he was outstanding, to be honest. Very, very good. And Brad Kelk, who we've seen before play out in the centres.
That's right, yeah. He's a kicker as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Didn't kick any goals in this game.
No.
He had one attempt near the end from out on the touchline, and missed it. But Brad Kelk was playing a standoff alongside Jake Davis, who we've seen playing in the President's Cup over recent seasons. So, again, a couple of different combinations.
Yeah, because usually McHugh's in the half-back, isn't he?
Yeah. So there was a whole host of players that weren't available.
Yeah.
He mentioned Terry Bridge. So Terry was the centre. He was really good, actually.
Yeah.
Every time he seemed to touch it, something happened around him. He scored 2 tries in the game. But another player that really impressed me was Brad Calland, who played 13.
Yeah.
He was the goal kicker. He kicked 3 goals, to be honest, but he was a lot more than just kicking the goals. He was really good. And then you heard him talk there about Mike Porter. So Mike was on dual registration from Wigan, so he's only 17. So he's been allowed to move out from Wigan, where he's been playing academy rugby.
Yeah.
He's obviously not got a game.
Yeah.
They've sent him out for experience, and you heard Sean there, very happy that Orrell are available there to allow him that experience and to give him that little bit of what will hopefully be a bit of progression for him.
Yeah, and that's right. We've said that right at the beginning of the season. It would be interesting to see how this venture went, and from what I can gather, it's not doing too bad, is it?
No. He was excellent, actually. I know Sean shouted a few things out at him because he was. There was one point in the game where I think he got well into it, and he'd been setting the lead. He'd been driving forward, and he got a bit excited and came up with about 3 offloads in 3 carries. Yeah. And Sean said, "I only sent you on to run." Which I thought was a fantastic comment. He said, come over here. He said, "Kid," he said, "I appreciate everything that you're doing, mate, but I only sent you on to run. You don't have to pass it." And I just thought it was a cracking comment, that. But yeah, really, really good performance. The other thing that he mentioned was they were building for a big semi-final this weekend.
Well, yes, they were. And if I'm not wrong, wasn't that the game that we were going to take in this weekend?
Were. We'd arranged it. We'd spoken to Orrell. They were very happy to accommodate us, and then I get us home from work. And next thing I know, there's a message and a club statement that's been put out from Rochdale Mayfields. So I'll read through that statement. It's quite a lengthy one. So please bear with me while I do so. So Rochdale Mayfield would like to inform. Take my glasses off for this. I can actually see you better. I know you're meant to see these things better with glasses, but I can actually see it better without glasses. So Rochdale Mayfield would like to inform our spectators, sponsors, players and volunteers that we have made the decision to pull out of the BARLA Cup at the semi-final stage. This decision hasn't been made lightly, and we have numerous times tried every effort to ensure that we could continue in what was described to us as a blue chip event. We entered the National Cup despite concerns from our NCL coaches, who were worried the additional games meant that we would lose some free dates that we would normally get, and would usually then use these as recovery weeks during a very demanding Premier NCL campaign. Despite that, after several discussions, we decided to enter the BARLA Cup competition and give it the respect it deserved by playing our strongest players and team. The NCL draft fixtures were released in November 2023, and Mayfield's unchanged fixtures were confirmed in January 2024. One of the key dates was 15th of June, where it showed we had drawn Lot Lane at home. This has remained unchanged since November. The BARLA Cup dates were sent out after the NCL fixtures, and this showed that the quarter-final would be the 15th of June and the semi-final would be the 13th of July. However, we were told by BARLA everyone in the country will have the opportunity without disruptions to their respective leagues, which also followed by an email from the RFL regarding the BARLA Cup, stating if a National Conference League team enters any cup, then league matches take precedent. And also, there could be a conflict in dates which will need to be managed by the respective management groups. There has already been a change of dates made by BARLA which clashed with the North West Men's League finals on the 13th of June. The semi-finals have now been brought forward to the 15th of June. Did I say 13th of June? 13th of July, of course, sorry, as you heard Sean refer to in his interview. We understand that this was always a BARLA Cup date. However, it clashes with our main priority, which is the NCL fixtures. After many messages being sent to an array of people associated with BARLA and getting very minimal support back, we were responded with several clubs have fielded 2 teams in the event. Their dates clashed with fixtures. We entered Mayfield's NCL team into the competition. By potentially fielding our North West Men's League team, there will be no doubt there will be a huge swing in standard. This is totally unfair on our NCL players and staff, and also our North West Men's League players and staff, and not forgetting the opposition clubs we have previously played against. It would obviously have a massive impact on the game, and in turn, probably the result. The final is not until the 24th, 25th of August, and we requested that we play the semi-final on another date that both teams agreed on. This was shut down by BARLA immediately. We feel it is very unreasonable to suggest we cannot play another date that will allow both teams to play their strongest teams, maintaining the integrity of the competition, and quite frankly have not been given any explanation as to why, with the final not being held for another 11 weeks. The cost of competing in the BARLA Cup has financially impacted us, as well as our travelling opposition clubs. We have raised this with BARLA too, yet again had no response or acknowledgement. We have asked questions, looked for support and requested advice for several weeks regarding this clash of dates. We asked them to look at a solution that allows the competition to be completed without ambiguity. This sadly has fallen on deaf ears at BARLA, and was told after just 2 emails that there will be no further correspondence. This is not only a disappointing outcome for Rochdale Mayfield, but a disappointing outlook on the future of the BARLA Cup. Rochdale Mayfield wishes good luck to the final 3 teams in the competition. So that was the statement which came out from Rochdale Mayfield. Quite a wordy statement. I feel they've put themselves across there. What are your thoughts when you sort of like saw that?
There are a few people. I think everybody to a certain extent are at fault here. I mean, I can't understand how. Is it when you enter this competition? Do you have to state what team you are putting in? i.e., are you putting your NCL team in? Are you putting your North West Men's team in? I'm not sure on that. I know we in previous seasons we've seen a final with Siddle in, and then we watched a game the other week at Hurstfinch where we saw Siddle Academy play at Hurstfinch, and Hurstfinch are a really good and riding hide side in the North West Men's League. But Siddle put up a good challenge against him. So, for me, I think Rochdale have let themselves down to a certain degree.
Okay.
I think they should have. I think have they done their own work beforehand by looking through the letter they have from the dates point of view. But is it unfair on the North West Men's side? I don't know. They're playing Orrell, who are in the Premier of the North West Men's. Is it not one of those from a cup competition point of view that, you know, there's always that chance that if you're putting a team out that's, you know, within your sort of division at world, that, you know, I suppose it's like the Challenge Cup, when you get the non-league sides, you know, go up against other teams, professional sides, you don't see them turning around saying, well, we're going to get a cane in here, so I'm not going to... I mean, York Acorn, for instance, who we watched beat Wasp out, they went on then to play against a semi-professional side. Okay, they got beat, but they turned up and did the business. So I think the crux of this, and we've mentioned this for a couple of seasons now, is that this needs to be planned better. And from what has been a cup competition, which has had some quite big prestige in the past,
I mean,
it's
to be fair,
dwindling away, isn't it?
You were showing me some of the old Open Rugby magazines when there were masses of features all about teams and different players that were appearing in the BARLA National Cup. It was at one point, it was like the FA Cup of amateur rugby league, wasn't it? So you had hundreds of teams that went in it.
Yeah. The other thing I feel sorry for are the teams, obviously, that Rochdale have beat on the way to get there. And is that correct? I don't know. One thing I'm disappointed in, that there's been no response from BARLA on this. Certainly, I've not seen anything from a media point of view, and obviously, Rochdale have not got anything back. But I think everybody has got to grasp the nettle to a certain extent. And I think that the governing body as a whole has got to look at the planning and the structure of where these competitions are put in. Because for me, from my personal point of view, I like this competition because it brings every different leagues and divisions in so they can play. So if you've got the Northwest men's, you've got the guys up in Cumberland who only normally play locally, it gives them that chance to possibly play a team from Yorkshire, a team from Lancashire, and other, as it were. And we've seen some great games and teams that we talk about week in and week out, and then it gives us the chance to be able to see them, sort of locally, as it were. It's a shame because it does make a mocker of it to a certain extent, and certainly when it gets to this point where it's a semi-final, and it's a shame.
I think maybe that's where the kind of sticking point is, isn't it? They've not done this in round one; they've done it at the semi-final stage, and I sympathise with them to an extent, because obviously there has been some change of dates, that have been brought on, and they've tried to come up with, like a way of going round it. As we've spoken previously, there are certain dates that are put in the National Conference League calendar where the idea is that the backlog dates. So if you get any games cancelled, that you fit them in, and if you're lucky enough not to have any games cancelled, then you actually get 2 or 3 weekends in the season where you can have that time off.
The other thing, Parky, is as well, in the other semi-final, Thatcherweath are in exactly the same situation, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
And again, they'll be up against the side that, if you look at from a Northwest men's point of view, they're going to be punching above the weight, aren't they?
Yeah.
Heading up
the
against
two teams
Erskine.
the two teams there that we're talking about, Orrell and Erskine, like we've just been talking a little bit earlier. Both teams are really going to be playing each other God knows how many times this season, by the looks of things, because that's how good they are.
Yeah.
But I mean, that surely that's the cup competition at the end of the day. And you see, I can't understand the structure of it, and I've always been, if you remember years ago, and you'll get it from certain teams, certainly in Northwest Men's, and I'm sure in Yorkshire Men's League as well, where suddenly you're playing a team's A team, and you know that a couple of their players are out of the NCL time, NCL side. You'll get the whinge, as it were. Oh, he's out of the first team, blah blah. Well, you go out there and you play your hardest against them, don't you? That's your competition, isn't it? I just it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, I must admit, because I as I say, I do like this competition, and for it to be at the semi-final stages, it makes you wonder if that wasn't Orrell St James that they were up against. If it was a lower team from the North West Men's or Yorkshire, it was similar as the North West Men's side, would they have said the same thing? Would they have still pulled out?
See, there's another interesting take on this, because I'm going to go back a few years. I think I might have mentioned this game somewhere else before. I've definitely talked to other people about this game that I'm going to mention. But many years ago, Siddle were fighting on all fronts. So they were after the Premier Division title. They were right at the top of the Premier Division, so they were after finishing top of the league. And they'd done particularly well in the BARLA National Cup, and I got through to the semi-final stage. Now, I can recall them sending a mixed team of under-18s and second teams, which they decided that they would send in the National Conference League. And they sent them to play against Leigh Miners, who were a crack side at the time in the National Conference League. So you're talking about the days when they had like your John Woods Juniors playing for them and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And Leigh Miners Rangers won by 90 points to 0 in a National Conference League game. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody wants to see that. But Siddle prioritised at that point. I'm not saying what they did was right or wrong, but they ensured that they were able to do 2 games on one day.
Yeah.
So they won their way through to the semi-final. I think they actually won the BARLA National Cup that year, or they went really, really close to winning it in what was a fantastic final in Blackpool. But yeah, they chose to do that. So I suppose you could argue there are ways and around this, and obviously, we're going to be coming to the National Conference League fixtures in a few minutes' time.
Yeah.
And you'll notice with Thatto Heath, they're also at home on the same day, which again is a bit of a vagary in the whole competition, because it just means that the focus. So if you're a Thatto Heath person, where's your focus going to be? Are you going to watch the first team on one pitch? Are you going to watch the A team on the other pitch? Because you've got the choice of watching both at the same time.
Yeah.
Now that's a conundrum that, as a rugby league nerd, I'd love to be in.
Yeah.
But trying to either report on either game, you couldn't really do. You'd end up, I'll spend 5 minutes watching that. I'll spend 5 minutes watching that. I'll spend 5 minutes watching that. I'll spend 5 minutes watching that.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
If you've just mentioned that scenario that Siddle decided upon, where they played the 18s, and were they penalised by the NCL for fielding a weakened side?
I don't know. Now, it's not seen as the done thing now, because NCL and league games should always take precedence. So that is what's maybe the thoughts and the thought process changed after that particular. I've not been involved in the NCL that long, in all honesty with that. And it's not something that I've actually heard any of the committee mention, like in the time that I've been involved.
And I think this is possibly the problem to a certain degree, that you hear of these types of scenarios each year, but there's not enough people shouting about it to a certain extent to cause there to be a change. But there needs to be for the whole competition, because it'll happen. It will happen next year if nothing happens, because it just needs some tightening up of the rules here and there, and like we're saying, everybody getting together, right? This is the calendar.
It's having one calendar, isn't it? And it's agreeing certain dates, and then either having it. So if league games must be played, then by all means the league game takes precedent, and it has to.
Yeah.
If I'm talking with my NCL hat on, you want the best players to play in the best league as often as possible, and to put all the processes into that. So in a way, I can see why, if there was rules that were changed, and bear in mind, like I was saying, I've not been involved in the National Conference League that long to be able to question this sort of stuff. It's certainly not something that has reared its head, about teams playing sub-strength sides, if you like.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one to take back to the committee and to actually ask them, and to then feed it out to the wider audience, which we have as a result of the show. But it definitely needs one calendar, and it actually needs. This comes down to BARLA really, because it's their competition.
It is, and I agree. But as I say, it's all got. I mean, it's like a Lego set, isn't it? It's all got to fit into place correctly. Yeah,
but this is like the odd bit out. Yeah, so it's the bit of tradition. Yeah, but obviously people are talking about how the Challenge Cup should change.
Yeah,
and the fact that we've gone from being able to sell out, the largest stadium in the country. And now we get nowhere near, do we?
Yeah.
So obviously the pull of the cup isn't quite as it was. So people will talk and they'll say things need to change. I get the feeling that, the BARLA Cup has changed. They've tried it as a pre-season competition and then finishing round about Easter just afterwards.
Yeah.
They've done that. So, if I remember rightly, the final last year, was that play? I think it was played in the May Bank holiday, wasn't it? I think so.
Possibly was, yeah.
So as a result, you got sides which were about 5 or 6 games into the league season then, and that seemed to work.
Yeah,
I don't recall as many sides pulling out of the competition last year. Is that what it becomes? Or are they trying to make it so that it's a more integral part of the season, in which case they need more buy-in from the clubs, don't they?
Yeah.
And they need everybody feeding in and seeing whether it's still got a place. Obviously, you agree that it's still got a place. I
think so, yeah. And I think it's one of those. If I was, playing for a team out in the Yorkshire Men's League and I got a chance to come over and play a team, either in Lancashire or up in Cumbria. They go on about it. There's a lot of social aspects in and around this game. And that for me, and I know there's a cost to it, I appreciate that. But when you look at the costs that we talk about that the Cumbrian teams do, in the North West Men's League, we were only on about it the other week with Bruce Pioneers, weren't we? So it can be done. And obviously, you can say, well, okay, fair enough. It's the further we go on, the more expensive it is. Well, that's the beauty of the game, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's that catch-22. But yeah, I must admit, I was really, sort of. Annoyed isn't the right word. I'm disappointed, massively disappointed. No, don't get me wrong. This isn't aimed at Rochdale specifically. I mean the thing as a whole. As I say, everybody's got to take some accountability in it if they need this to work as good as it can.
And as I usually say, this is an open mic show. So if you've got a feeling about this, if you're one of the sides that's involved, if you're listening to us and you're saying, hang on, Steve and Dave have got completely the wrong end of the stick here, more so Dave than Steve probably, then get in touch, because we've done this before, haven't we? Where we've said stuff and then people have got in touch with us, and I'm happy to speak to you. We're happy to have you on the show, and we're happy to talk about the BARLA National Cup. We're happy to talk about where that sits on the calendar. We're happy to talk if you want. Why do we seem to have this? I don't know, this mixed up calendar at the moment. I don't because I don't fully understand it myself either. There's probably an easy explanation to it, but then again, you even look and we don't know come the end of the season in the pro ranks if we're going to be playing international games at the end of the season.
I have.
They only announced yesterday, didn't they, or the day before, the fact that we're going back to Wembley on the same weekend next year.
That's right. Yeah.
Should that not already be penciled in way before? Should so that I don't know. Am I being harsh? Am I just asking questions? I don't know. I think this shows again that we care, doesn't it?
I mean, But I noticed in that statement they were told it was a blue chip event. Who's told them it's a blue chip event? I'm not saying it isn't. Yeah. Is it BARLA have said that? Is it is it the RFL have said it's a blue chip event? If it's the RFL, well, they should take some responsibility into making sure that there's space and availability for these games to be played, as well as the NCL games to be played. Is it one of those exactly the same as the professional game, where after X amount of weeks there's a free weekend and that is for cup games? It happens, but teams pulling out certainly at semi-final stages I just feel for those others. I feel for the team. I'm sure the North West men's team would put up a good fight against Darrell. I certainly would. Don't get me wrong. I agree. It would be a mountain, but isn't that a challenge for them? The other thing in there as well is obviously NCL coaches said at the beginning at Rochdale that it would be a stretch. So should they be listening to the coaches as well, the NCL coaches? Have they made the wrong call at the end of the day? I don't know, but there's, as I say, it's a shame. It is a huge shame.
So no game this weekend for Orrell St James. Moving on to the second interview which I did after the game, I caught up with Ashton Bears boss Dave Picton.
Well, Dave, we're catching up in the aftermath of a 22-4 defeat. What are your thoughts and the direct aftermath of it?
I thought it was pretty competitive for 40-50 minutes that game. I thought we gave some cheap ball away, invited pressure on from Orrell, and they took the chances really well. I think every chance they had, they took and got points. But there's a lot for me there I took away positive. We had quite a young team out, 518 stepping up, making the first appearance.
Tell us a little bit more about these 18s, because I know that as a club you're fantastic at bringing young players through.
Yeah, it's something I've been quite proud to do, to be fair, and something that I want to do as a coach. One of my things that when I did take over, I wanted to leave it in a better place than it was when I took over. I think we're getting there. But these under-18s, they're a special group of players. We've spent a lot of time. Obviously, I'd like them to be playing week in, week out, but at the moment, they're going for the under-18 season. So, as and when they're available, they'll up for selection. And after today's performance, they've certainly got a chance of playing week in, week out for us.
I know last time I saw you play, I was raving about Kean Hampson's performance. I thought, to be fair, he pulled another excellent effort out today.
To be fair, I did challenge Kean. So with such a young team, and 4 of them under 18s was actually in the pack. So I did challenge Kean to lead that pack, and I thought he did it immensely today. We've lost a lot of experience in our pack. It's probably been our biggest loss this year. But we knew it was going to be tough. But I'm really proud to be associated with them players, because what they're doing is standing up to that challenge, and I am very confident coming to the end of the year when we get a bit of a role play together, we'll do some damage.
I mean, they had 3 golden chances in first half and took each one, really, didn't they?
Yeah. Definitely. I think as a coach, the coach killers as they're called. But for me, 100%, I'm very confident going to that end of that year. I've got a lot of ability in that dressing room. I've got a lot of ability who's not available at the moment. So people are writing us off. So we use that as a motivation for us going to the end of the season.
There's an old saying, isn't it? They never write off the Saints. So tell me it's never write off the Ashton.
No, I don't think that. I think there's a lot of talk that goes on. Okay. You hear it, so that's a motivation for us. We do our talking in our own house together, and we know what we can do, and we know where we'll be come the end of the year.
And I've got to say, that was a great second half.
Yeah, we responded well. I think I told the ball a bit better. We turned, we kicked, we built pressure, and we went toe for toe. Still things we can massively improve on. As I get to say, the younger lads stepped up. The more they play, the better they get at that level. Some played last year, and they stood out last year as well. And they won the league last year, Division 2 under 18s. They've gone up to the Prem this year. I think the third. They got to the National Cup semi-final, and they got to the National Cup quarter-final. So they're having a successful season. Hence, they're not available for the open age. So we're building. We're throwing lads like Billy Newton, our half-back, has played this is his third year, I think, at Open Age, third or fourth year, and it's first year in Premier Division. And I thought his kicking game today was, really, it's been a real positive for us this year. I think him coming in and his kicking game has really helped us and given us another dimension.
And then arguably he scored the try of the game at the end.
It's not much consolation, unfortunately.
Sorry, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best here, Dave.
Yeah, it's not much consolation, unfortunately, but yeah, it's nice to score nice tries. I'd rather win and score 4 Kieran Cunningham Burge overs, but it is what it is, and that's where I say where you take away that you've got a lot of things we can work on, and I'm confident as we go into the season we'll grow.
I mean, this is where I want to come at it, because obviously there's probably a lot of people that, because we don't often get chance on the show to talk as much North West Men's League as perhaps we should do, but we can't split ourselves in two half the time, and that's half the battle. But I'm really keen to tell this story of these younger players coming through, because you look at all the sides that are starting to build success elsewhere in community rugby, they're all off a clutch of young players that they've brought through the ranks.
Correct, and I think as a club, Ashton have been a bit behind the ball recently, but certainly I think it was my first season, there was about 4 or 5 stepped up at that time, and then obviously we've got this group of players that's coming through, and then there's another one behind it. So we talk about that team that's doing well. There's actually a B team at the under-18s level who's top of their league, and they haven't lost a game. So there is, there's a production line of players hopefully coming through to that Open Age, and that's what we want, because it drives competition for places, and it drives the desire to get better. And I think a lot of the older players who's experienced, it gives them enthusiasm and it makes them want to come down. It makes them better players, and we've seen it when we've trained together. It's a lot better for us as a club.
Commiserations on tonight. What have you got coming up?
So we've got quite a busy month. So we've got Ayrsham home and away, and we've got Latchford. They're the games for June. So obviously targeting to try and get 3 wins. That'll try and cement us at the top half of the table. As I say, we've got our internal goals. I'm not going to share them of what we want to go and do. But what I will say is, come that end of the season, I'm pretty confident in that ability. Them players, whatever we do, we'll go on, and I think we'll make a name for ourselves. And
to be fair, you finish anywhere in that top 4. It's a lottery when it gets down to playoffs, isn't it?
It certainly is. I think over the last few years we've had a lot of success week in, week out, and obviously, unfortunately, fell at the last hurdle, should we say? But there's a lot of experience I've took from that. We're getting experience into a lot of open age players and the younger ones. So there's a lot of open age players there stepping up who's been playing in the Division 2, Division 5 rugby, and they're playing Premier Division rugby. Orrell in the league last 3 years, is it? And they've stood up to there. They've gone toe-to-toe for them. So as I said, there's a lot to be proud of for me as a coach.
Cheers, Dave.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, discussing the greatest game at all grassroots levels.
Great value there, Dave Picton.
Yeah, very much.
Enjoyed that chat. And again, I'll do what I did with the Orrell side in picking out a couple of players that really impressed me on the evening. So you mentioned Billy Newton, whose kicking game was on point throughout, half-back. I really enjoyed the performance of young winger Max Ruddock. He was the guy that scored the sparkling try right at the end. And then they had a 13. It was a game of the 13s, really impressive. So Callum Cottington did really, really well. He just got stuck in, and then they didn't have a 20 club, but they had a 19 club member, Joe Rustage, who also did pretty well off the bench. As I said, this was one of those games that I came away from having been royally entertained.
Yeah.
They knocked the hell out of each other for 80 minutes, which is always good to see in a local derby. And ultimately, there wasn't that much difference between the two of them. On another time, you would have thought that potentially a couple more chances might have been taken from Ashton. I would have had no qualms of saying that was really a 22-14 sort of game. Yeah. But as I say, Orrell took the chances, and that's what you've got to do in the end, isn't it?
And that sort of saying about Orrell, I mean, like Dave said, they've been champions for the last 3 years, and they're a good side. But I just think this year, I mean, they've got a bit of competition, with the Erskine up there, because having seen them play, and watching the results and knowing some of how they've strengthened over the last couple of weeks, it's going to be a good competition this year.
I was really encouraged to hear as well about the clutch of young players that are starting to make their way through the ranks at Ashton Bears, and really pleased to hear that they're running 2 under-18 sides, which are both top of the respective leagues. I mean, that is really good strength in depth, isn't it? If you can even just get 5 or 6 of those players coming through at once, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's how you manage those coming through now, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah,
because it's so easy to think, we've got all these, it's going to happen, but you've got to, sort of just be careful how you get them through, and giving them the chance to play. That's the thing, isn't it? Because we've seen it certainly where you've got teams that are established. I suppose the classic is Pilks Rex in the NCL. They've started to bring youngsters through now, but should that have happened a little bit sooner if possible? It's difficult. It's a balancing act in some respects,
and it depends what you've got coming through as well.
True,
sometimes you can have really, really good age groups that just end up all getting signed professionally.
That's it. Yeah,
and they go into academies and scholarships, and you never see them again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into my usual hornet's nest that I usually do when I start talking about scholarships or that type of stuff.
It's true, isn't it?
And then you have the years where at times lots and lots of players come through. So we've talked about Clock Face as well, haven't we? About they've got a clutch of young players, and granted the league results haven't really matched that early expectation perhaps, but those young lads are still being given the heads, aren't they? And they'll learn to be a better side because of it. And sometimes you need that change to happen.
Yeah. And you've seen that with some of the guys that you've been lucky to see when you've been doing the Community Alliance stuff. I mean, some of the youngsters that are there, and you see them in NCL sides, and you're thinking, hang on, how old is he? And
exactly,
because they've been given a chance to do that, and now they're delivering, on a bigger stage for the country.
Definitely. So that was the only game that took place in the Northwest Men's League this past weekend. This coming weekend, we've got quite a few more games that are slated to be played. So on Saturday in the Premier Division, Ashton Bears host Heysham Atoms. The first of 2 games that Dave was saying the Bears have against Heysham in the next few weeks. Folly Lane are at home to Halton Farmouth Hornets. Latchford Albion host Blackbrook. Now that should be an interesting tie, shouldn't it?
That should be a good one.
In Division 1, Hindley host Dalton. Goulburn Parkside make the short trip to face West Orton Lions. And Salford City Roosters, they're on the road at Wigan St Cuthberts. Division 2, that sees Highpool Tigers at home to Wigan Springview. And then just the one game on the calendar for Division 4, Langworthy Reds hosting the Chester Gladiators. Elsewhere, we've had a couple of regional league results, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah.
So this from the Midlands Merit Division.
Yeah, we got a couple. One played on Friday was Nottingham Outlaws A. They were taking on Sherwood Wolfhounds A, and it was Nottingham Outlaws 26, Sherwood Wolfhounds 30. What a way! What a game!
What a close run!
Yeah. Obviously, defence was not unsure, but good win there for Sherwood Wolfhounds A. And then on the Saturday, it was Ashton Warriors. They were up against the Staffordshire Quantums, and it was Ashton Warriors 64, Staffordshire Quantums 26. Another tri-fest. Impressive. 2 games, you got your money's worth there.
Definitely impressive performance that from Ashton Warriors. I mean, that's a really good result. That. Elsewhere, a little bit of news from the Wales division. So Wales Rugby League have announced a new principal partner for the prestigious South Wales Men's League, the 8-team competition, which started the 2024 campaign on the first Saturday of June and involves sides meeting each other once, plus a randomly drawn loop fixture. Where have we heard loop fixtures before? It's now going to be known as the JES Group Rugby League Conference. Now there's top 4 semi-finals at the end of the year, and that will precede a grand finals day, which is going to be held at the Knoll in Neath on Sunday, August the 18th, when a new trophy that's especially been made using a piece of steel from the blast furnaces at Port Talbot will be the prize. We do have some results from this competition as well. So in the JES Group Rugby League Conference, we have Bridgend Blue Bulls 24, Aberavon Fighting Irish 28, Rhondda Outlaws 26, Cynon Valley Cavaliers 40, South Wales Saints 2, South Wales Jets 100, and unfortunately Tarvin Tigers against the Swansea Rams was postponed. Elsewhere, your fixtures this coming weekend in the London Premier Division: Brighton and Hove are up against London Chargers A, Elmbridge Eagles host West Warriors A, Medway Dragons, they're at home to Brixton Bulls. In the East of England Premier Division, Anglian Vipers are on the road at St Albans Centurions, Hemel Stags likewise at Bedford Tigers A, and in the Midlands Premier Division, Swindon St George hosting Telford Raiders, Sherwood Bullfront over at Birmingham Bulldogs, Oxford Cavaliers hosting Leamington Royals, and in the Merit Division, Deeping Ducks are set to take on Worcester Rebels, North East Worcestershire Ravens, they're hosting the Staffordshire Quantums, in Scotland the Forth Valley Vikings host the Edinburgh Eagles, and then your fixtures for Wales this coming weekend: Cynon Valley Cavaliers are up against Aberavon Fighting Irish, Rhondda Outlaws host the Swansea Rams, South Wales Jets, they're taking on Tarvin Tigers, and Bridgend Blue Bulls, they're away at the South Wales Saints. Just one late result which came from last week: London Chargers 12, Hammersmith Hills Hoists 12. And then your fixtures this coming weekend in the Southern Conference League: Bristol All Golds hosting London Chargers, London Scholars are away at Hammersmith Hills Hoists, you've got West Warriors over at Bedford Tigers, and Eastern Rhinos away at the North Hearts Crusaders. Now, sticking with the Southern Conference League, there's an advert that's appeared in the League Express this week. So this is for London Scholars, who are looking to recruit a new head coach for the 2025 season. So thereafter, and I'll read the advert: an experienced semi-pro or amateur rugby league coach, level 3 preferred or level 2 willing to work towards level 3 acceptable. They want somebody who possibly has a strong student rugby league background, which would be seen as a plus, able to establish connections with the colleges and universities. They want someone who's got strong recruitment skills. It's a paid role in pre-season and during the season. And for more information, contact Hector McNeil, including your CV and cover letter. So an opportunity there for somebody, I feel, down at London Scholars.
Yeah, very much so.
Hopefully they can get back on the horse, can't they? Right, over to...
Just before we do,
okay,
where were you the weekend last year?
This weekend last year?
Not this one coming, the one just gone. Where was we?
Where was we?
Where was you?
Where was I?
Yeah.
I don't know, where was I?
I think you might have been at Wembley. Were you covering the...
No, I wasn't, because it was held in August.
Was that August?
It was in August.
They changed it around?
Yeah, they changed it round.
Yeah, but you were at the Challenge Cup final for the Stephen Malani final, if I remember rightly, for the schools.
I was.
Yeah. And this year, this is all links into our old connection, because it was St Peter's RC versus Esgol Glantaf.
Esgol Glantaf.
Yep. It was St Peter's RC 26, Esgol Glantaf 6. Now, St Peter's RC are actually from Orrell. And obviously, I'm sure some of those lads will, if they don't already, will end up playing for Orrell Rugby League that we were on about before, because we know they try to keep it totally in-house as much as possible, don't they? But I believe the standout player there was a guy called Harry Brown, who's got a bit of I suppose he's a famous father, isn't he?
Go on.
Spill
the beans. You can't just leave it like that. You've built the...
I've built it up,
You've built the deadline.
It's the son of Kevin Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was instrumental in the win, and an outstanding sort of game from him as well. So yeah, again, obviously the kids' games that they put on the schools final before the Challenge Cup final. We keep saying this. It needs to be so all the crowd, at least some of the crowd, are in when they're going to see it. It doesn't look as though there was many in against, but
it was a 10 o'clock kickoff. It's always tough because I don't know whether by the time we get going there's that many people that are in the stadium, and certainly last year was a bit of a mad rush from a media point of view.
You get it 10 minutes before it started?
I think it was 10 minutes before the game was due to start. I had a team sheet thrust in my hand. I couldn't get connected. We were trying to do a broadcast.
Yeah, that was our first one, wasn't it?
It was awful.
Big one, as it was.
I was really looking forward to it, and I felt I'd let everybody down because nobody could hear me.
But it just shows that competition, we're speaking of competitions with prestige. That is one that's got prestige.
Very much so.
The school community, hasn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Fantastic, and well done to St Peter's, by the way. And you're probably right. I bet there's more than half a dozen of them kids that'll probably end up going through the ranks at Orrell St James if they're not already there.
I was just going to say, I bet quite a few of them are already there.
I did actually notice in the build up to the game. When I gone the other night over to Orrell St James, and they were saying about they were recording little bits and bobs, so they were recording good luck messages for some of the lads, because I think they'd already gone down to Wembley on that Thursday. There's a couple of good ones, and I remember because they were filming it, and they're filming it just outside the dressing room area. And one of the lads goes, "Oh, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say here?" He goes, "Well, it is your brother that's playing at Wembley."
Oh, I love it. Don't you love sibling rivals?
But it's definitely got a place in the calendar, and that was certainly special for everybody at St Peter's was that day. National Conference League. So again, a much reduced programme. Last Friday evening there was something of a local derby. Egremont Rangers hosting Kells in the Premier Division. Egremont Rangers winning by 22 points to 8 in the end, thanks to tries from Crellin, Houghton, Hutton and Elwood. Matt Busher kicked 3 goals. Kells added a couple of tries themselves through Parker and Grant Gameford. Half time there was nothing in this one, by the way. It was only 6-4 to Egremont Rangers, so a really powerful second half performance from the Rangers, and that allowed them to pick up their 4th win of the season. Took them 5 places from the bottom of the league. They're still in that clutch of clubs, to be honest, that are just above the relegation spots. And then on Saturday, they're getting closer to a victory here. Division 3, Featherstone Lions. Featherstone Lions 30, East Leeds 32. So the Lions scoring tries through Wise, Stanley, Bell, Bedis, Beresford and Millard. Goal split between Deal, who added 2, Sales with the other. And then East Leeds, close run thing indeed. Edwards scoring a try, Russell grabbing 2, Thompson and Kemp scoring individual tries, Jacassi getting in for a try as well, Littlewood kicking 3 goals, Clarkson kicking 1. Nothing at all between the sides at half time, 16 all, and only the 2 points separating the sides at full time. That would have been a turn up for the Bucks, wouldn't it, if Featherstone Lions had been able to get something out of that game. As it is, East Leeds stay on the fringes of the playoffs. 6 wins from the 8 games, but then due to the points that they'd already had deducted at the start of the season from last year, they are sitting in 5th position on the league, just beneath Beverley, who also had points deducted at the end of last season. So looking forward to the fixtures this coming weekend. On Friday evening, the Premier Division, York Acorn have the Friday Night Lights going on again against West Bowling. That'll be a crackerjack fixture. On Saturday in the Premier Division, Kells up against Heworth. Loch Lane are over at Rochdale Mayfield. Hunslet ARLFC travel over to Thatto Heath Crusaders. Wathborough Hornets host Siddle in what is a lip-smacking affair that's set to take place there. West Hull up against Egremont Rangers, a similar sort of tie over there in West Hull. In Division 1, Clotface Miners at home to Waterhead Warriors. Crossfields up against Ulton Raiders. That's a game that we're hoping to be able to bring you some coverage of at the weekend. Hull Dockers hosting Woolston Rovers. Stanley are over at Ince Bridge. Skirler are up at Wigan St Pat's. In Division 2, Barrow Island up against Ellenborough Rangers. Millom on the road at Dewsbury Celtic. Myton Warriors away at Normanton Knights. Thornhill Trojans are over at Oldham St Anne's. Shawcross Sharks are at Saddleworth Rangers. That's a game that we've covered in the past, isn't it? Wigan St Jude's, it's a derby. They're up against Pilkington Rex. And in Division 3, Dissington take on Driglington in a battle of the D's. East Leeds are up against Milford in a battle of Leeds. And you've got Featherstone Lions hosting Lee East, Hensingham hosting Beverley. That'll be a really good game, that Hensingham against Beverley.
Yeah, I agree.
When you look at how close they are in the division, and there's hardly anything there, is there, between them?
Yeah, because you're looking again, similar to it. East Leeds, they played 8, won 6, lost 2, but points deduction, and then you've got. Hensingham, who second. It's going to be a good one there.
It's all pointing to the fact that Hensingham are really starting to get their act together, aren't they, as a club?
Yeah.
They've had a fantastic season so far. The team is doing particularly well in the Cumberland League as well. And long may that continue, because they're always one of these teams as well, where certainly from an England Community Alliance point of view, they've nominated players that have ended up getting picked for the different age groups. So it was only a matter of time for me before they started getting things right on the field, because they've got this, as we've talked about, they're one of these sides that they've got this clutch of young players that are starting to come through, that are starting to make names for themselves, and as a result, everything's starting to go well for them.
We saw that when they went to Bentley, when we were up there covering that game. Great match, and some really, really good players for them.
So I think we're done and dusted. Is there anything that I've missed, Steve, do you think?
I don't think so. Just nice to see a full fixture list there, certainly from the NCL. I'm sure the week after, the North West Men's and Yorkshire Men's will sort of start padding things out, so we'll have a bit more to chat about.
It will certainly give us plenty to talk about. As I always say, thank you to our guests. So thanks to Sean McHugh, thanks to Dave Picton. Great match. Thanks for your company as always, Steve.
You're welcome, mate. Enjoyed it as always.
And as we said, open mic. So if we have said anything and you disagree with us, by all means get in touch. We'll have a chat about it. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.